we've been in a perpetual state of winter, just holding on to our dead leaves, not wanting to let them go because we're afraid they're not going to grow back. But they will grow back. Oh, they will grow back so much stronger and more robust with more life, new life, okay? So don't be afraid to let go and end what was so that you can bring in what is to be. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christina and we're back for another weekly intuitive reading for the collective with our Earth Magic cards. So welcome back to a Sunday. Hope you're all well. I am very eager to get into this reading. We're doing Earth Magic. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's our card. Beautiful. Autumnal equinox. Autumnal. I've never heard that word. Autumnal equinox. Release. This is so good, actually. Release. Okay, so this actually is interesting. So the point that comes up for this card is something I was looking at earlier today, actually, and it was in relation to someone who was having a hard time grieving their mother's passing. It had been over a year, and they just had a lot of regret and guilt around the death. And just based on the very little information I had about it, the point that came up for me was in order to release that emotional burden, that emotional guilt, that emotional experience, which is very dense, it's very entrapping, it's very like heavy, dense. In order to release that experience, I had suggested that she write a letter to her mother and to communicate the point that was kind of sitting in her that was causing her unable to let go and basically grieve and accept the reality of her mother's passing. And so for me, the reason why this was so important in terms of a release is because that's what emotional experiences are. Emotional experiences are these heavy things that are existing inside of us that have weight in us, and it's oftentimes something that we're distracted by, we focus on. It definitely makes our experience not pleasant or enjoyable. It's something that like is a burden. It's a burden that we are carrying, and it keeps us from expressing and moving freely in our utmost potential throughout our day. You know, sometimes it like blocks us and keeps from actually moving the way we want to. And so the reason the release is important is because obviously then you're letting go of this emotional attachment burden experience that is keeping you from living and expressing your utmost potential, which is free, which is like, you know, you can just move as you like. And usually when you're here and present and fully like yourself, there is a light experience within that. Nothing, you're not carrying any weight. It's like you can just move and like express, and you feel passion and joyful, and it's like, cool, on to the next thing. It's like life is fun, as it should be. And so the reason I suggested writing a letter to her mom was because, and this is for anyone in relation to if you feel you're still holding on to a point of emotional energy that is heavy inside of you, that is like a burden that you can't let go of, that's kind of weighing you down, write about it. And the reason that this is important is because we need to communicate what it is we're experiencing. I can't even tell you how many times me and my partner have had an issue or conflict or something, or even just in myself, not in relation to him or our relationship, but like in relation to me, something I'm experiencing or trying to understand or figure out or make a decision about, and the experience is heavy. And in communicating it, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times in that act alone, that experience has released and let go of the grips it had inside of me. Just being able to communicate, it's like a point of facing and addressing. It's like we have to face these experiences. We have to talk about these experiences. simply just verbalizing it can makes all the difference when it comes to starting that process of letting go, because it doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve us to hold on to these experiences. Like this woman who had regret around her mother passing, and she had this regret and guilt. It sounded like because of how she treated her mom. You know, it's like she wants to now say some things because in the fact that her mother's passed, she now has another perspective of how she could have acted differently and how she could have been differently. And so to, you know, become aware of that and to verbalize, okay, this is what I see I did and who I was, and I'm not satisfied, and now I wish I would have done this and could have done this. I mean, just being able to communicate that can make such a big difference. And so it's important that we find those ways to have that outlet of release. You know, like the autumn trees shedding their leaves, we have to let go of the things that are dying, that are not, we can't carry them on to the next cycle. We can't carry them on to the next phase. We can't, reality and life changes. And so we have to change with reality and with life. And so we can't carry on these things from the past that are no longer relevant to our lives, you know, like losing a parent or losing a relationship or the ending of a relationship, or, you know, oftentimes we resist these things. We define them as such bad things, but truly, like, the negative experience comes from holding on to something that no longer exists or that is no longer existing in the same way. And so it's like becoming accepting and fully embracing the reality that's here as it is, because then we're in alignment with life and reality, and we're allowing ourselves to move as what's here and not resist what's here. So it's important. So communication is key. If you have someone you can talk to about experiences, that is so important. If you don't feel like you have someone you can talk to, write it out. Write it out to yourself, to the person, to someone else. Like, that act of writing out your experience is equally as valid as communicating verbally with someone. It's just a point of you expressing yourself as you feel and as you experience yourself, to give yourself some perspective. You know, you can become that point of comfort for yourself when you're writing out yourself as you experience it. Oftentimes in that experience of writing it out, you can see then from a higher perspective or from another perspective that allows you clarity and understanding of what it is you're experiencing. So it's just like not to undervalue or underappreciate communication and writing and how important that is in terms of allowing us to let go of the things that we're holding on to that have become burdens. Yeah, so for me it's very much been a practice for years about, and more specifically in the last, year or two, really coming to grips with being in the moment. And actually Phoenix, my son, really supported me with this practice. When he was first born, I had this idea that my life wouldn't change much. He would just kind of align with what I normally did throughout my day. And while, that's a reality that can happen, especially in the beginning when they're so little, they don't, take up a lot of space or movement. You don't have to chase them around the house. So, but it wasn't like that. Everything changed. The minute he came home, the minute he was in my reality, how I moved throughout my day was completely disrupted. And I had to learn very fast how to be very flexible and in the moment and let go of any expectations or ideas that I have about what I could do. And also forced me to embrace the reality that is. Let go of this want for things to be different in terms of me wanting to move how I want to move, and rather embrace and accept the reality that's here and how I'm actually now in a position to expand how I move and try new things and experiment with a different way of structuring my day, with consideration obviously of this new life that's a part of our life. So Phoenix was a really crucial moment for me in realizing how to be more directly present with myself and let go. I mean, talk about shedding and letting go and releasing things that practically, physically no longer make sense for you. Like, it was a quick hard lesson in getting comfortable with just being in the present and letting go unconditionally of everything that practically there was nothing I could do about, So that's another aspect of, like, life ultimately from my perspective, is best lived and most supportive and most enjoyed and our utmost expression when we're so present in the moment, and there's nothing from the past or the future that we're like trying to hold on to or bring into, like milking a cow. Like we're trying to get something from the future or from the past, and it's like we're completely split from just the present moment here, enjoying what is here. And I think that's really important for people to realize, because, you know, when we're constantly looking ahead or stuck in the past, we're missing everything around here, and oftentimes we're in resistance then to what is here as our current reality, current moment, present moment. We're in resistance to it, so we can't see what is actually here, which is life. Life is here. Every opportunity, everything that we need, everything that we require, our utmost potential is expressed in this moment, and everything that we need in order to live and express our utmost potential is in the moment. And so it's like, if we can just get fucking present with ourselves by letting go of the past and the future, we can really start to embody that full awareness of who we are and actually start moving and creating in our reality as we would like. Freely, you know, as the directive principle that we are, you know, commanding our reality to be what we see is actually best. And that's where all our power is, you know. So it's important to find ways to release the past and release the expectation of the future or the attachment to the past or the present. Essentially, how is it that you can be more fully present with yourself here now as what exists? I can't tell you for how long I lived in the state of, oh my god, it was like my understanding of being present was purely intellectual until Phoenix came along, and then it became a very physical fucking get yourself grounded in reality, because this is the consequence if you don't. You're in conflict, you're fighting, you're constantly in resistance to what is here because you want it to be different. And so, yes, hello. So it's important. It's important to be able to release, let go. How can I let go of my past burdens that are keeping me looking back? And how do I let go of my expectation of the future so that I can fully live in this moment and start to enjoy my life? Because that is where the joy is. That is where the fulfillment is. That is where the potential is, you know? Oh, it's so good. Okay, I'll share one last thing that kind of is aligned to this point. Yesterday, I had this experience all day where I wasn't feeling my best. I was kind of like, just something was like kind of heavy in me. I wasn't my normal chipper self. And usually what I would do is fight with that and try to get myself out of it and go into a greater conflict with how I felt, in judging it, in defining it as bad, in saying that I can't feel that way. Instead, what I did was I looked at it, okay, this is ebbs and flows of life. I don't feel my normal self today, but I don't have to fight this and resist this. I can actually embrace and accept this and be okay with this. And what was so interesting is that later in the day, this point opened up inside of me of this new direction to take with our water business and some new opportunities that we can do with it. And I got so excited, and then the whole night I was just like working on this point and bringing it into creation, and it was like, oh my god, I was just like, the juices were flowing. I felt so good. And what was so interesting was that it was in that low or that lull where I wasn't like specifically focused on something, because that was another part of it where it's like, because I didn't have a specific focus, it was kind of like nothing was going on. And it's that experience that I kind of resist, of like, you know, thinking and believing I always need to be working on something and doing something and going towards something. But in that space of not really feeling like doing anything and nothing really coming up to do, and instead of fighting that and allowing that, what happened was that space was created so that this new point could emerge and I could see it, because I wasn't busy focused on something else. I wasn't busy fighting with myself. I was just here. as how I experienced myself, and it was okay, and it was an acceptance and embracing, and I was just going about my day doing the things I needed to do, but there was space that was created because I wasn't fighting with myself or fighting with the reality of me that was here. I released all that, and what came through was this new potential that was like, I'm so excited about, and I'll hopefully share more of that in time to come. But just that's the importance here of being able to release any added extra layers, baggage, burdens that are just keeping us like stuck and not seeing clearly what is actually here, which is like every moment is an opportunity for a new potential to emerge within you that you can act upon and express. And it's exciting life and how it moves and how it opens and how it can be birthed inside of you, and it's just fucking fun. So it's like, how do we get to a point where we can just release everything that was and everything that isn't and fully embrace what is? It's important. It's important that we do that. And specifically here too, embracing the cycles, letting go and shedding what was, what didn't work, what is over, what is ended, what is ending, what is dying. Like, let that go. Learn how to embrace the reality that is, because in that is your ability to see for real and so create for real and start working with the real potential and the, that creative clay that's here. So, okay, let's read the book. In many areas of the world, deciduous trees prepare for the winter and conserve their energy by contracting their life force. That is, they release their leaves. They have required the rays of the sun and nourishment from the earth in order to maintain robust growth and appearance. It's not a decision the trees make, at least not in the usual sense. Instead, it's a natural response to the decreasing cycle of light that sets up the gradual and steady release of the tree's leaves. How remarkable is it that these trees, and for that matter all of Mother's children, simply know what to do with the changes in climate. Although this seasonal shift appears to be a death of sorts, it's only a preparation for the next cycle of life, one that will naturally follow the more extreme contraction of winter as an aspect of the life, death, rebirth cycle that we find represented in so many different ways. Now it is time to let anything in your life fall away that is no longer useful or needed for the emerging expression of who you are. Allow yourself to gradually shed what has become burdensome and no longer congruent with your soul's purpose. Conserve your energy by allowing yourself more rest while at the same time making preparation for the winter season. Look especially at your material possessions and be brutally honest with yourself as you discern which of these can be given away or somehow released. Consider shedding relationships that have served their purpose and are no longer viable, as well as work or a job that has become devoid of interest and passion. With release comes a sense of being much lighter, just like the trees and the open bear their nakedness once their leaves have departed, and give room for whatever new life is ready to birth following a period of quiet and gestation. So let go of whatever has outlived its purposefulness and trust that something else will take its place. I love that too. I feel like me personally am coming out of this type of phase of the cycle, and this is very much related to the death aspect of life too, is that it's like creating space by letting go of everything that is no longer serving you. Okay, so here's a question to reflect on for this week. What are you holding on to that you are no longer satisfied with? What is it that you're holding yourself hostage to? What is it that you are still thinking and believing that you have to do based on an idea of right or wrong, supposed to be, this is just how it is the way it is. And consider that this is your life and you have every right to design it in a way where you feel excited and uplifted and empowered to do what you want to do and to create what you want to create and to experience what you want to experience. And so don't hold yourself to relationships and circumstances and jobs and events that you're not happy with. This is kind of a continuation of the know yourself point, how important it is to know yourself and give yourself what it is you want to do. If you're, currently living in have a relationship in your life that is just dead weight that you're like, I get no joy from this, I get no passion from this is not serving me, this is actually toxic, or this is actually detrimental to me, it's always just a conflict. If you can't change that to be more harmonious, then consider letting it go. And that goes with everything in your life. If you're doing things and living things and playing out habits in your life that cause you more suffering, consider letting it go. How can you create joy in your life? How can you create more passion in your life? You have to actually live it, meaning start doing things that give you that experience. That's you giving yourself life as you would like to live it, which is best for you. And so it's important to be able to be willing to release. And this is another point of creating space. You have to let go of what is no longer serving you so that you can create the space to bring in what is next. That is a natural cycle expression pattern of life that exists here. Things come and go, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and it's like, if we're holding on to something that is no longer viable, we're keeping ourselves from letting in the next thing, the next growth, the next season, the spring. Essentially. We've been in a perpetual state of winter, just holding on to our dead leaves, not wanting to let them go because we're afraid they're not going to grow back. But they will grow back. Oh, they will grow back so much stronger and more robust with more life, new life, okay? So don't be afraid to let go and end what was, so that you can bring in what is to be, which is new life. So if you have any insights or perspective from this reading, anything came up while you were listening, I would love to hear it. So please comment in the section below to also inspire me and everyone else that reads it, because your voice and your perspective matters as well. And so I would love to hear what you have to say and what you see from this reading. And how do you release? How do you help yourself release things that you no longer want to carry? Okay, well, thanks for walking with you guys. See you next week.